Hey, I've been thinking a lot about this topic. Before I jump into it, if you are on TikTok, please follow me, Amethyst Virgo Astrology. I sometimes post different topics on there, different types of, video clips. So please check it out if you're on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram, Amethyst Virgo. So let's jump into this. So I've been thinking a lot about the rising sign, the ascendant sign, and the descendant. As we know, the rising sign is on the cusp of the first house. First house is instinctual. Mars rules the first house in astrology. We know all those things. If not, I have videos about ascendant. The descendant is, directly opposite our ascendant in the opposite sign. And it's on the cusp of the seventh house of partnership, romance, business partnership. First house, self, identity. So when we look at this and thinking about people's relationship preferences, I think it's important to note this. A lot of times we feel like we're looking for someone who complements us or someone who's like us. I'm looking for the male version of myself or the female version of myself, or I'm looking for someone that is just like me. If we are spiritual beings, right? Technically you have everything in you, right? Or everything within you to do the things you need to do, right? It's up to you whether you do them or not. If we have a lot of things in us and some things we have not yet tapped into, and we're seeking balance, right? Like balance is a natural thing. It is the natural order of the world, balance, right? Things like that, right? We have to have this to have this, right? But when we think of it, what is important is also sometimes you're actually looking for something to balance you out. You're actually looking for something you don't visibly possess. You're looking for someone to bring that part of you out, which is why you have a descendant sign, right? It's not about this fictional not being whole. That is a problem to walk through the world and say, I'm looking for my other half. I know that some people say that in a, not in a serious way, but a lot of times when we're thinking of that, we have to understand it is our job to make ourselves whole. It is our jobs to make sure we are healing, we are working on ourselves, we are being the best version of ourselves. That way, when we meet a partner, we're there. And that way, even if I've done the work and you've done the work, that when you meet that partner, you're not doing the work for them. They have to do the work for themselves. And this is for anybody. It doesn't matter your gender. You have to work on yourself. You cannot find another person to complete you and validate you as a person. It doesn't matter who you're around, whether you're with your mom, your dad, your cousin, your sister, your cousins, your friends, your coworkers, a stranger. Who are you? Right? And other people can make us feel good because they validate us, or they can validate parts of ourselves that we know are true. That is okay. So for the descendant sign, we're going to go through why you might see a contradiction in who you're attracted to, why you might find a contradiction in who you end up dating, why you might find a contradiction and maybe you don't date these people, but these are people that you realize are influential in your life. I have another video about the descendant ascendant that goes very much about the general rules of it. And it goes by sign. So you can check that out. This is more so, what's the truth about who you're likely going to end up with, right? Aries. People with Aries ascendants have Libra descendant, obviously. You're likely sometimes going to end up with people who are more passive than you. People who are more like, sure, go ahead. Yep, let's just do it. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that, right? Because we all need carefree people in life who aren't as high strung and right? Like everyone doesn't have to be the same. But that's what you're going to usually end up with. You might think, oh, I want somebody just like me. I want somebody who's adventurous. And maybe you can get that. And just because a person is passive in some ways doesn't mean they're not adventurous in other ways. But for that balance, you're going to usually attract or draw people who are calmer than you. Even in business partnership, they're more calm. They might say, hey, before we do that, let's read the fine print. Let's look at this, though. Let's look at this and let's look at this before making a decision. So if you're an Aries ascendant, yes, your mission as an Aries ascendant and, all of that, whatever's on your ascendant, you also need to know where the planet is, where your chart ruler planet is in your chart. But you're also learning that balance, that delicate balance beam of, but this is who I am. Who am I with others? Or what do I accept? What am I learning from this person who's requiring me to look at things differently, who's requiring me to look at both sides before I'm just jumping into something? Much mean you're wrong for jumping into something, but this is why you'll see some Aries ascendant people. Sometimes their partners are they're not as much risk takers as them, or they're drawn more to people who are more mellow, subdued, maybe even more social, have better manners, better social grace than them. Now again, it can get tricky because maybe you're an Aries ascendant Libra descendant, Libra sun. So maybe you already you have those things, right? And it just means from your rising sign, you and the person, you approach life in different ways. But as a Libra sun, you already have that. Again, that would be birth chart. We're not doing a birth chart reading right now. This is just general. So if you are Taurus ascendant, Scorpio descendant, you're going to usually find that you're finding people that are more intense than you. And sometimes you're scared of that. You're scared of that intensity. You're like, I'm just trying to meet somebody and check off the boxes and feel comfortable. I'm just trying to get comfortable. Why are they trying to commit so quickly? Now, that can be an issue if someone's love bombing you. But for the most part of your balancing lesson is going to be people who are able to take things more seriously than you. People who are able to take it up a notch, take it to the next level. So your partner may be more of the one who steers the relationship, who guides the relationship, who brings it to that level. They are, again, we're not talking about gender right now. It could be, it could be someone that's just like, they're the ones proposing the marriage, right? They're the ones pushing that. Or they're the ones who are like, hey, like, why don't we move in together? Like, why don't we, like, they're pushing the more serious nature of the relationship. And maybe had they not done that, you would be too afraid to do it because you're like, no, but I have my own place here. And maybe that's good. Maybe you need to stay in your own place. But you're going to find when you're in a Taurus ascendant that your partners, the people you're drawn to, are always a little bit more methodical than you. They might be a little bit even more strategic than you in some ways. Sometimes, again, depends on what else is in your chart, what you hear to work out. Could be a person that's a little bit more even manipulative in some ways. Like, you're learning like, whoa, like, I'm trying to be transparent. They're trying to be secretive. But then maybe you learn like the importance of thinking ahead, thinking 10 steps ahead. You preserve what you have, but they think 10 steps ahead. So that's what you might be learning in these relationships. If you are a Gemini ascendant, Sag descendant, your partner who you attract and draw to are going to usually be people who have really strong belief systems. Sometimes Gemini energy, it is meandering, it is interested, it is curious about everything. That's why Gemini tend to know a little bit about everything. They are curious. They keep their ears open. They read a book. They flip through a magazine. They watch something. But sometimes Gemini is not forming a strong stance. They just want the information to deliver it. Sagittarius is a stance. It is, I have a belief, or I have a way in which I live my life, and this is my truth. And so with Gemini ascendants, your experience in relationships is sometimes going to be that in which your partner is going to be a little bit more faith-driven than you. Maybe you need a faith. Maybe you've been trying to find what you believe. And finally, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. So converting for a partner, if people who are religious, or changing your lifestyle for a partner is more likely because the Sag person has more conviction. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You have your own path. You're not following them just because they're your partner, unless that's how you work your relationships. But for the most part with Sagittarius, the descendant sign is like that person is more firm in their belief systems. And so from that, then you generate, okay, ideas. And you can sometimes work together through that. Again, even if it's like a business partnership, you're trying to come up with a business and the business isn't going so well. But the Sag person or the Sag energy person is like, hey, like, we're trying to sell this product, but who are we really trying to help? Who are we really trying to reach? What are we trying to message? Does our company have a message? And it's like, the Gemini does the research, and the Gemini like does a lot of research and then comes back and says, hey, let's talk. This is the message. Like, you work together with your opposite sign. It's not about you become them. You're working with them. All right. So Cancer risings, what is going to be probably true? Your partner is a little bit more stoic than you. Your partner might not be as expressive or as openly nurturing as you are. Your partner might be the one who's a little bit more firm. Your partner is the one who keeps your eyes on the prize of what we are here to accomplish. Your partner has more of a blueprint of how things are going to go. Right? So it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Maybe it's a situation where you are very, in line and intuitive, and you are more interested in just like going through what you feel is right for you. You are someone who's like, hey, I'm an artist and this is what I do and this is my work. And the Capricorn partner, not Capricorn, but Capricorn energy partner, based on the 7th house cusp, would be, okay, well, how are we going to accomplish our bills? Like, how are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to accomplish our goals with that? I'll support you, but this is what we need to do, right? And again, I'm not talking specifically, like, this is a very general video. This could be about whoever, whatever. But in that case, like, your partner It doesn't mean they're ruling over you. It just means you benefit from understanding how to plan and how to get things going in a certain way and not getting so caught up in what you feel. There's nothing wrong with what you feel. Feelings are real for the person. That emotive nature. Caring for something requires emotions. Again, I always say people don't really understand emotions and feelings in the way they should because people associate it with being feminine or being a woman or whatever the case may be. And there's a tendency to downgrade emotions because people don't really know how powerful they are in terms of intuition, manifestation, right? In terms of creating genuine connections with people. That's all emotional stuff, right? If you have connections with people, that's emotional stuff. It doesn't matter if you're like a logical person. Again, people don't really understand emotions in logic in the way in which people have different doses, and gender doesn't always dictate that, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of variances, and when you're an astrologer, you see it. There's so many variances among people. But the point is because of that, the Cancer individual does sometimes need, or the Cancer rising person, your mission might be to go with what you feel. There's nothing wrong with that. But what's happening is your descendant sign reminds you also of the importance of staying the course. They remind you of the importance of resources, of following a certain path, of not getting so lost in your feelings, you forget to also establish things, right? So that's what it is. It's not anything wrong with you. It's that the Capricorn descendant energy, the people you'll meet or relationships you'll have, that Capricorn type of energy supports you in stabilizing yourself. Okay, like when someone says, you're my rock, like that's kind of what I would say a Capricorn descendant person would be to a Cancer ascendant person. And again, once I get to Capricorn ascendant, I'll talk about the benefits of a Cancer descendant. Leo. So Leo, if you're a Leo ascendant, Aquarius obviously is the descendant sign. So what you learn here, like these people kind of help you come out of your box a little bit more. Maybe earlier in life, you were the show, you were the party, you were fun. People liked you, right? And that matters to you. That love, that appreciation, you need that. You thrive off that, right? Right? Your personality, who you are is something that's important. But the Aquarius energy reminds the importance of also finding ways in which you fit in ways that aren't easily accepted in life. The Aquarius descendant relationship wants you to get outside of your box a little bit more, opens you up to something, to new experiences, pushes you to really kind of not be so insular in terms of your group or who appreciates you or who cheerleads you. The Aquarius type of person, the descendant, these people, they push you to experiment outside of just what makes you feel appreciated. You're going to get that praise and that love and all that stuff. But the Aquarius is not about getting praise and love. It's about, hey, let's experience this. Hey, we're trying to understand life in ways in which we're actually exploring it. We are actually thinking about it. We are actually pushing boundaries, right? That's what we're doing here. Leo shows up. Leo energy is the show. It is a showstopper. The Aquarius energy is the one that plants the seeds and the thoughts in the collective, in the group. So your person is probably a little bit more intellectual, right? Or they make you think, or they bring that intellectual side out of you. Okay. Virgo ascendant, Pisces descendant. Your partners tend to be people who are more idealistic than you. There's something about them where they aren't as rigid as you. They aren't as anxious as you. They are a little bit more, even they might be people who chase their own dreams, or people who aren't as high strung. This could be people who are, the way they think is not as specific or linear as the way you think. They might not always have their life the way you do. You might have an order in how you do things. Your life is all, maybe neatly packed. They might not have that. Their life might be either very, they're living the dream, they're living the way they want to live, or they just don't have a plan at all, right? So I always tell the good and the bad. Like sometimes a Pisces descendant energy, they're showing you something. They're showing you how to dream, how to live your life and not be so afraid to go for what you want. But sometimes you can end up with partners who like aren't as realistic as you. Okay. Libra. So Libra, if you're Libra ascendant, the descendant is Aries. Your partners are a little bit more pushy than you. Like sometimes they're a little bit more aggressive. They are more go-getter. They're more fiery than you, obviously. And, that could be good sometimes because you might fear or struggle to actually do what you need to do. and they light a fire under you, right? Now, again, if they are overly aggressive, then that could be an issue for you, right? And you might find this repeats. You keep meeting these people who are just like, and it's not that that's a wrong energy. Maybe it's just you have to grow your own confidence before you can handle that energy, right? It's like sometimes people will push you to see what they can do. And sometimes people don't even do it consciously. They're used to behaving a certain way. They're used to people responding a certain way. And you have to show them, wait, with me, this is how this is, right? Like sometimes it depends. Some people have bad intentions and some people are just used to behaving a certain way, and it's up to you to really show people how to treat you. So you might encounter this. You might meet a Libra ascendant person and their partner's bossy, and the Libra person might be like, it's cool, they're cool, it's not that big of a deal. Because some people don't mind taking a back seat. Maybe they're a boss at work and they're in a relationship, they're like, I don't care, go ahead. You wanna, you want to renovate the house, we got the money, go ahead. Like they're not trying to control everything, right? So you can sometimes see this with the Libra ascendant. The partner they have, the people they attract are, and sometimes you got to be careful. They could be more reckless, they could be a little bit more reckless in some ways, and the Libra person is always trying to balance their life out for them. So it really depends on if it's going to be good or bad. Now, Scorpio ascendant, Taurus descendant. Well, what you have is like you take life by the horns and you are trying to just get everything you can get from life. Taurus person reminds you of the importance of slowing down, because sometimes you are trying so hard and you are so frustrated because you're trying to transform things. Everything in your life has to become bigger and it has to become more, than what it was before. And Taurus people, or that energy on the cusp, it means you can invite people in your life, or you can encounter people in your life who remind you to slow down. And maybe you learn a good lesson. Oh, wait, that person didn't want to date me. And now I realize, by slowing down and not getting so serious soon, I realize why. That's not someone I want anyway, right? So just because something's on the cusp of your descendant does not mean you stay with that. Doesn't mean you're a Scorpio ascendant, you have to stay with every Taurus energy person you date, Taurus moon, Taurus sun. No, that's not what that means. It means you are learning this lesson from these types of relationships. And yes, more than likely, there's going to be some overlap in terms of that person's sign, right? For instance, for you have Taurus on the cusp and you look back and like, oh, most of my partners have had Taurus in their chart. Even if it's like the North Node or South Node, it doesn't, matter. Obviously some energy is more stronger than others, but you're gonna find people whose partners are more like chill, like their partners are more reserved. So it can be a really intense person, especially a person with Scorpio ascendant, Pluto in Scorpio in the first house. This person can be really intense, but their partner is more mellow and more chill, and their partner is more like, listen, like as long as I have what I need, I'm not worried about what they do, right? Taurus can bring about this kind of peace. And so it's up to the Scorpio ascendant person to also realize, like, are they too mellow? They're not concerned with something they need to be concerned about, versus let me learn how to also calm down and come to, accept what I have. You can learn a lot from Taurus descendant, your Taurus descendant sign as a Scorpio, to appreciate what you have, because Scorpio's always seeking something that's like consuming, is trying to get something more. Okay, so we did Scorpio. Sagittarius. If you're a Sagittarius ascendant, Gemini descendant, your partner is going to kind of sometimes question some of the things that you believe and think. So be prepared, because Sagittarius is energy that's I trust myself, I trust my path. If you're an ascendant, again, it's not the sun, but Sagittarius is like this adventure you've been on in life to find answers, right? And a lot of times Sagittarius ascendants have the experience of having to do a lot of different things. You're usually very experienced. Maybe you work different places, you've lived different places, you have a wealth of things that have happened in your life that you've had to respond to, and things that are kind of built you up so that you feel that you're really knowledgeable. But that Gemini descendant energy sometimes means you can bring in partners that kind of challenge that part of you. But remember, Gemini is not trying to necessarily do that. Gemini is trying to get you to see like the reason behind why you think what you think. Remember, this is objectivity. So your partner sometimes may question some of your ideas, some of your thoughts, especially if they're problematic. Your Gemini, the Gemini descendant energy is going to bring about a partner who sometimes gives you that kind of like, wait, let me ask you a few questions about that. And it's important not to get offended unless this person is questioning who you are, and that's just who you are. If you are a certain belief driven person, if you are spiritual, you are religious, you're a person who's like, hey, I'm optimistic, I'm always looking at the positive, and you have a Gemini, you have a partner with Gemini energy, or a person who just seems like, you know, has that energy in them, and they're questioning things that you believe in. So you just have to be careful of those types of energies and relationships. But for the most part, it works in terms of Gemini is willing to listen to those things. You know, you having Gemini as your descendant sign means you can bring about partners who at least are willing to, if it makes sense to them, right, you can work really well together. And again, it's a balancing act, right? There's nothing wrong with someone asking you questions. There's nothing wrong with someone being curious about you. So don't take offense. A lot of times Sagittarius just is, I am this, I believe this. But remember, Gemini energy wants to know a little bit more. It's very curious energy. It's trying to collect information from you. So your ideal partner it's probably going to be someone who's either talkative or asking you a lot of questions. They want to see where you're coming from mentally. Okay, so even though you believe what you believe, they don't know what you believe. And so sometimes those are the types of relationships you know that come your way. Capricorn. So Capricorn ascendant, Cancer descendant. In these relationships, what you end up having is a person who is reminding you of what matters at the heart. You, especially if you're a very goal-driven person, if you're a person who is you've been successful because you understand the lay of the land, you understand how life works, and you just do that. And you understand that, hey, let me put this other stuff I feel to the side because this is my way in which I deal with life. The ascendant is not the sun, as I've said before. The ascendant is how we respond to life. It is our instincts. So if you've been doing that, and that's just your approach, the Cancer descendant, that energy in your second house, are you drawing partners to you who remind you what matters? You might be someone who's always, you know, you get into a relationship and you're still trying to maintain the same work schedule, or you're trying to maintain the same time you spent with your friends. There's nothing wrong with that. You need the time with your friends. But when you get into certain relationships or marriage or have kids, you then have, yes, you just have to sacrifice some time. You're no longer single. And so that Cancer descendant energy, it reminds you of what matters at the heart of who matters. This is the partner who might be planning the family vacations. This is the person planning the birthdays. That doesn't mean that's all on them to do. It means that at some point, hopefully you learn to merge with them a little bit more. Again, we're looking for people that can complement us in some way so that we can both, you know, that energy can become whole and a part of how we just function. And someone in the relationship will have more of one thing than the other. That is really how most relationships are. But with that energy, it's important, especially if you don't value emotions, you don't value connections. The person is showing you, you need to value connections. And some of y'all might be too late. A lot of you in your earlier years, you were like, I'm just trying to, you know, I'm focused on me. I'm not focused. I'm not taking this seriously. I'm not taking relationships seriously. I'm young. I'm trying to do this and that. And then, but you realize now it's like, oh, wow, you know, I spent all this time worried about getting the bag or getting this and getting that. I didn't really spend a lot of time nurturing my relationships with people. And now all I have to show, yes, people want money. Everybody wants more money. Or I have, you know, these accomplishments, or I have these things that I'm really good at, but have my relationships suffered, right? You also want to be careful, depending on the chart, you don't end up with a person who's emotionally manipulative. If you have certain placements, you got that Mars in Cancer, and that's conjunct that descendant, and you got a South Node in Cancer, oh, you're learning a lesson, right? That's why I said, like, a birth chart reading will tell you how this relates specifically to you, but like sometimes you can be learning, like someone's trying to manipulate you and stop you from your goals. That's a whole different conversation. All right. Aquarius. All right, so Aquarius, ascendant, Leo descendant. If you're an Aquarius descendant, this Leo energy, this seventh house energy, this partnership, the people you are going to attract are typically going to be people who are on the scene. And sometimes you pride yourself so much in being different. You pride yourself so much on being different, on like, no, I don't follow trends. No, I'm an intellectual. I'm a thinker. And you end up with someone who is on the scene, someone who is fun, someone who is celebratory. But sometimes we have to do that because Aquarius, you know, Leo knows its zone. It knows what's fun for it. Aquarius might sometimes dabble in a lot of different things because, you know, Uranus is one of the rulers of Aquarius. You dabble in a lot of different things. You're playing contrarian. You're always trying to figure out the loophole in something. And so you use a lot of your mental energy, which is great. But sometimes you have to also learn how to focus on what's enjoyable for you. And sometimes you don't really know what's enjoyable for you because remember, the sun, the energy, like Aquarius, well, I'm going to say the sun is in detriment. Anyway, we'll leave that. um, your partner is probably more social than you. Your partner may be more generous than you. Your partner may be someone who is more seen in the spotlight. And you might just be like a tag, like, okay, I'll go with you to this, but I don't really want to go here, right? So, and that might feel like, oh, that's not who I am, but that's who you attract. Or that's what you're learning. You're learning the importance of finding your joy. All the signs have a place in our charts. Every single sign. Sign intercepted, you know, there's still something to unpack there. So every sign transits our chart at some point, every single sign. So it's important for us to understand, like, no matter how different you feel your life is, and like, oh, I'm an individual and I'm approaching life in this very different way, I'm an Aquarius ascendant. Leo is, but what do you enjoy? Do you have fun? Do you know the thing that you are good at? Right? Like, do you know what you're really good at? Aquarius gets so you know, in that intellectual, there's nothing wrong with being a thinker and a contrarian and a conversationalist, and like, you think outside the box. But who are you? And the Leo energy in that 7th house, those people remind you, like, who are you? What do you like? They're going to challenge you in that way, where you have to divorce just being this person who's this, you know, rebel rouser and I'm here to change things. Because it's a lot of times Aquarius energy gets so caught up in this kind of group influence. I'm influencing the group. People are doing what I said, or people are listening to me. That's all that needs to happen. But Leo is I am. This is who I am. Well, that's the Aries. Aries is I am. Leo is look at me. Like, I shine. I know what I'm good at. I know what talents I have. So Aquarius sometimes doesn't know what talents it has, because there's so much focus on this kind of, you know, mental control, or this mental influence, this belonging. I belong to something because it has rules. And Aquarius, ironically, wants to break the rules, but Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus, so that gets a little contradictory there. Pisces. Pisces, your opposite sign, obviously, is Virgo. And so what happens with the Pisces ascendant and the your Virgo descendant? These people show you. So a lot of times your partner is just going to be a little bit more, obviously, more organized than you. They're more organized than you. They help you see reality a little bit more. You're going to think they're trying to stop you, or especially if you're a double Pisces or triple Pisces, you might think your partner's trying to quell your dreams. Your partner is trying to control you, but really it's that they see that there's a way to do things, and they want you to do things the correct way so your dream actually comes true. Now, could you have a situation where you're learning lessons, because sometimes you do have people that come in your life that are trying to control you. They're trying to micromanage what your dreams should look like, or what your life should look like. You're like, whoa, I like it like this. I don't have to have a schedule. I don't have to do this and that. But what ideally happens is that Virgo energy, those partners, those people, they show you the importance of, like, how do you make certain moves so that what you want actually happens. Virgo's earth energy, it is Mercury energy, it is ideas. So Virgo energy might help you pick apart your idea until you come up with a plan. So applying that pressure to you is absolutely necessary a lot of times with Pisces ascendant people. It's about balance. Doesn't mean you become that person. It means at some point you get to learn from them and say, oh, okay, I have all these good ideas, or I have all these great causes I'm a part of, but I haven't really thought about how I'm going to actually organize that, or I haven't really improved my life. I'm just waiting for something profound to happen, right? Virgo is like, all right, well, let's be intentional about it. And sometimes that can cause friction. Again, like I said, it depends on the chart, depends on the person. This does not mean every Virgo you're going to meet is good to you. There could be Virgos that, do micromanage your life. Virgos that come in your life and say, this isn't good, this isn't good. Ooh, what's wrong with your house? Oh, I'm going to fix it. That could be good if you, right? Like if someone's like, oh, let's fix this. But if somebody comes into your life and they assume you don't have anything that value, or they assume that they need to control your life because it's a mess, and without really working with you or asking you questions, that can sometimes cause an issue, and that person can become a little bit more dominant than you, because Pisces energy is Pisces energy. And Virgo is not really a dominant sign. It's not dominating people, but Virgo is earth and you are water. So earth it's got more of that structure. So sometimes it can be a little bit more overbearing to Pisces than Pisces is to Virgo, right? So it just requires you to understand how to balance. If a person comes in your life, any sign, and balances you, that's good. If they come into your life and control you, that's not good, right? Because we all have individual purposes in this world, and we cannot let other people stop us from what our spiritual needs are. So that was it for this video. Again, if this interests you, check out the other one. This one was more just me like drilling a little bit more deeper into what your partners tend to be like.